The critical nature of some of our videos recently in our delving into each book of the Bible has been an eye-opening experience for us, and I hope you too. If you haven't seen any of those videos, I encourage you to learn more about the Bible in depth by some of our work so far, and continue to follow us and learn more if you have an interest in those things. But the spiritual practice that we practice in our whole philosophical nature was summed up pretty clearly in a few paragraphs in a book, the Vedanta, A Simple Introduction, which is part of Eastern philosophy, mainly from India, and it really describes really well a spiritual practice that helps understand who we are, and not necessarily going into how to practice it, but basically the philosophy. And I thought I would share that with some of you who have been asking, well, what do you believe, since we're critical of the Bible? And this kind of lays it out in a good way. What is that? What it is? Blah blah blah. If I can learn how to read. What is it that prevents us from knowing our real nature and the nature of the world around us? The veil of Maya, Jnana Yoga, is the process of directly rendering that veil, tearing it through at a two-pronged approach. The first of the approach is negative, a process of neti, which is not this, not this. Whatever is unreal, that is imperfect, impermanent, subject to change, it is rejected. The second part is positive. Whatever is understood to be perfect, eternal, unchanging, is accepted as real in the highest sense. Now, are we saying that the universe that we apprehend is unreal? Yes and no. In the absolute sense, it is unreal. The universe and our perception of it have only a conditional reality, not an ultimate one. To go back to our early reference to the rope and the snake, which we're not going back, but this is the simplicity of this analogy. Brahman is perceived to be the snake, i.e. the universe as we perceive it. While we are seeing the snake as a snake, it has a conditional reality. Our hearts palpitate as we react to our perception. When we see the snake for what it is, we laugh at our delusion. This is sort of like Donald Hoffman's scientific research into the nature of reality. If you don't know Donald Hoffman, I encourage you to do some YouTube or BitChute or any number of those video places where you can go and search and listen to some of his lectures. They're brilliant. Similarly, what we take in through our senses, our minds, our intellects, is inherently restricted by the nature of our bodies and minds. Brahman is infinite. And for those of you who've not heard the term or word Brahman, you can consider it the infinite, the God, if you will, for a lack of a better explanation. It kind of helps you wrap your mind around what we're saying. Brahman is infinite. It cannot be restricted. Therefore, the universe of change, of space, of time, and causation cannot be the infinite, all-pervading Brahman. Our minds are circumscribed by every possible condition. Whatever the mind and intellect apprehend cannot be the infinite fullness of Brahman. Brahman must be beyond what the normal mind can comprehend. Brahman is beyond the reach of speech and mind. Yet what we perceive can be no other than Brahman. Brahman is infinite, all-pervading, and eternal. There cannot be two infinites. What we see at all times can only be Brahman. Any limitation is only our misperception. Jnana Yoga forcefully removes this misperception through the negative process of discernment between the real and the unreal, and through the positive approach of self-affirmation. In self-affirmation, we continually affirm what is real about ourselves. We are not limited to a small physical body. We are not limited by our individual minds. We are spirit. We were never born. We will never die. We are pure, perfect, eternal, and free. That is the greatest truth of our being. The philosophy behind self-affirmation is simple. As you think, so you become. You have programmed, or we have programmed ourselves for thousands of lifetimes to think of ourselves as limited, puny, weak, and helpless. And what a horrible, dreadful lie this is, and how incredibly self-destructive. It is the worst poison we can ingest. If we think of ourselves as weak, we shall act accordingly. If we think of ourselves as helpless sinners, we will, without a doubt, act accordingly. If we think of ourselves as spirit, pure, perfect, free, we will also act accordingly. As we have drummed the wrong thoughts into our minds again and again to create the wrong impressions, so we must reverse the process by drumming into our minds the right thoughts, thoughts of purity, thoughts of strength, thoughts of truth. As the Ashtavakra Samhita, a classic, it's an Advaita text, is, I am spotless, tranquil, pure consciousness, and beyond nature. All this time I have been duped by illusion. And that is a good synopsis of some of what we think and practice here, especially with self-affirmation, and that thoughts are things, and that if you tell yourself that you are weak, then you will be weak. If you allow yourself to be out of shape and tell yourself you are, then you will be. If you are actively pursuing a mind and body and spiritual experience and try to improve upon yourself, upon your mind and your body and your spirit, then you will improve it. Thoughts are things, and they're powerful. And we practice here various forms of meditation and affirmation and how to be better people. And I hope that you come along and join us and look at our other videos and discussions on, right now we're delving into the Bible. We will be for probably many more months, but we'll also throw in bits and pieces of our philosophical nature here, and we ask that you come join us if you find it interesting, and pass it along. We appreciate it. Thanks.